Hello, I am Ninja Dave and welcome to my Thief 2014 tutorial on the city, part 1. If you've been following along with my tutorials, we're picking up here from the end of chapter 1 when Garrett arrives at the clock tower for the first time. We're bridging the gap between chapter 1 and the main mission of chapter 2, Dust to Dust, and I'm going to be showing you where to find a good bit of the loot that's available in the city before we move on. I'm assuming that you have not done anything except for the prologue in chapter 1 and that you're on your way to see Basso for your first job. From a role-playing standpoint, this is a little bit awkward. You've got all these matchbooks that you're going to see Garrett find at the end of this cutscene from Basso asking you where the hell you are, and Garrett would probably want to go see his boss or partner or whatever to get some answers to his questions. And that's not the only reason you might not want to dawdle. You need to go ahead and go see Basso so that you can get access to the shady fence guy in the tavern and buy a wrench, because there's little that you can do without it. Once you see Basso, he's going to give you a job that's advertised as time-sensitive, so again, Garrett would probably want to go ahead and get started. You can do that, of course, and come back and follow this walkthrough after you do the next mission, but this is a good way to get Garrett a pretty good chunk of change so that he can buy some of the things that he's going to need to do the next mission and all of the ones after. In my playthroughs, I always do it now, and I recommend the same for anyone who wants some coin in the pocket, especially if you're playing on Master and everything costs an arm and a leg and a lung and another leg. So we're going to let Garrett take about an hour here to do what he does best. Steal shit. I did a full introduction in the prologue video of what I was trying to do with this series, and if you have any trouble following anything, I recommend that you go back and watch that one. For this one though, I'm just going to take a moment to talk a little bit about screen notation. Every time I pick something up, either off the ground or out of someone's pocket, you'll see a running tally appear here in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. They'll come in 5 different colors: yellow for basic loot, red for collectibles, blue for documents, green for consumables, and orange for pickpockets. We're going to pick up 97 pieces of loot, 8 collectibles, 24 documents, but some of those are duplicates, and 7 consumables, and we're going to pick 7 pockets. We're also going to complete the first 5 side jobs from Basso, but before we head down to the Crippled Burrick, we're going to make one stop here at the Watch Council office because it's literally right on our way. In here we're going to find our first 5 pieces of loot. The first isn't the easiest to see. The best way to get it is to climb up on these lockers. You may be able to see it from a standing position on the floor, but I could never make it light up. Once you have it, you come downstairs and hang a right and read your first document here on the wall. There's actually another one on the other wall, but it doesn't show up until later chapters, so you'll have to come back for that one. On the desk, you'll find a newspaper and another document, and a pen sitting right next to it. Then loot the desk drawers to find an ink bottle in the top left drawer and a letter opener in the top right.
Hope I don't catch the blue.
Then turn around to pick this difficult 5-pin safe. I'm going to be cutting out the actual safe picking and load screens and maybe some other stuff as well to trim the time on this down just a little bit. When you get the safe open, you'll find inside the Baron's bust. It looks like a collectible, but it's not. It's just a piece of loot. When you have it, backtrack out of the building and turn to your left when you come out the window to continue on your way to the tavern, the Crippled Burrick. To get there, once you're through the window, you just slide off the edge of this balcony and onto some crates, make a right and continue into the alley until you see the obvious entrance to your left. It's a good idea to sneak here because the guards in the plaza are very close and they will alert if they see you. Once you're inside, you'll go immediately into a cutscene where Basso will fill you in on the big giant secret. You've been unconscious for an entire year. While he and Garrett chat about what happened at the manor, I'll tell you just a little bit more about what we're going to be doing with this video. I did a few playthroughs of the city and I found a fair amount of what there is to be found, but I wanted to make sure that I could find everything. So I bought the official Prima Play Guide, and for this video I freely admit that I'm just going to be following along with the walkthrough in the book. I realize, of course, that anyone can do that, so you may be asking yourself what the point is of making a video of doing that. The reason I did this was that I thought it was a little difficult to follow the book's instructions and map descriptions, and I also thought, even if you have the book, it might be nice to see the instructions played out on screen. I thought about just using it to find everything and then putting things in the order that made the most sense to me, but the book's order is pretty good, and if I follow it and use the book's running tally, you can follow along in the book if you happen to have it, and the numbers will match up for you. So that's what I did. I found everything in this section of the book in the order that the book puts it in, and then I recorded a playthrough. The most frustrating thing about this video has been the way the game saves. I don't know how it is on other platforms, but on the Xbox in this area, the game saves checkpoints and you can make your own manual saves. From a standpoint of just playing through, that's probably not a big deal, although you will want to keep it in mind, because it may affect where you want to put down your saves, but probably what you're concerned about is whether or not you get killed or detected, and if you do, having 2 recent saves to go back to is probably fine. But from a standpoint of trying to record video, it's infuriating. You want to be able to practice before you record, and you want to be able to figure out where everything is before you practice, so you want to be able to do a playthrough and then go back and start over from the beginning to do it again. But here there is no chapter save to start from. You can go back as far as the most recent checkpoint or your manual save, whichever is earlier, or you can start over from the prologue. Because once you pick up a piece of loot, that's it. It's gone from the map and you can't record finding it again.
What's the catch?
For that reason, I did a fair amount of saving and reloading, and I tried to cut those things out as best I could, but if the video seems a little bit choppy from time to time, that's why. Quite a bit of this can end up being quite difficult at times, especially Troy's apothecary and pickpocketing the 4 guards in the city because they walk in pairs and there aren't too many places where you can sneak up on each of them without the other seeing you. It's especially difficult if you're trying to keep your playtime down for video recording, which I was, though I'm not sure how successful I was at it. This ended up being more than an hour. And I wasn't really trying to race through at top speed. The main reason for that is that it's very dark and the map is very complicated, and the point of this is to show you where stuff is so that you don't have to go out and buy the play guide yourself. So I hope that I ended up moving slowly enough that you'll be able to follow along without losing track of where you are.
Still.
Alright, we're nearing the end of the cutscene now, so it's time to refocus on what Garrett's up to for a minute or two. As soon as you get control of him again, you're going to get a prompt letting you know that Basso has more jobs than just the one that he just gave you. So let's head back inside to get the ball rolling on those before we go. Don't forget to grab this newspaper on your way, and then turn around and head over and just activate Basso, and he immediately becomes a vendor of nefarious activity. When the menu comes up, just select each job. Slick Willie, Beauty Within, Medical Misery, Righting Wrongs, and Machinations. And we're going to complete each of these in this video before we come back to Basso to collect our reward. When you're finished talking with him, your next stop is the Shady Merchant. Just go up these steps and make a U-turn to your left and go up the second set of steps. He sells all sorts of nifty tools of the trade, including a wide variety of arrows that can be useful for quite a few purposes, and he's also great for unloading stuff that you don't need at this point, like food. But our primary purpose at this point is to pick up one thing, the wrench. Without the wrench, there's quite a lot of places that you can't get into in the city and off on missions. It's expensive, but it's worth it, especially if you want to get around unseen in later chapters. In this section, it's going to be worth it because it will essentially pay for itself by getting you into several places that have loot in them that are inaccessible without it. You're also going to want to pick up, at this point, 2 rope arrows and 4 blunt arrows. When you're finished with the merchant, come around the corner behind him and into the bar to grab this document before we head out to the graveyard to see the Queen of the Beggars. Now, as I told you, I sold all the food that I picked up in the prologue in Chapter 1. Selling food is optional, but you either need to sell it here or put it in your chest back in the clock tower to empty it out of your inventory so that you can pick up more. You can only hold 5 at a time, and I don't really see much point in keeping it. If you get hurt, you usually die, and you have to reload, so food seems pretty much useless to me except to sell. The same thing is true for other consumables we've picked up so far, like water and broadhead arrows. We're not going to be using any of them in this section, and we'll be trying to avoid using them in later chapters as well, so you don't need to carry around a great many of them. As we enter the old chapel area here, the first thing that you want to do is go all the way back to this alcove here where the desk is immediately to pick up this newspaper, and then turn around and go into the entry between these 2 benches to find the interior of the chapel where you'll meet the Queen of the Beggars. Here again, as soon as you go inside, you'll go immediately into another cutscene where you'll learn a little bit more about what happened to Garrett in the prologue. It was the Queen's people who found him and saved his life after he and Aaron fell from the glass roof of the Baron's manor. After this cutscene, you'll see a prompt letting you know that the Queen of the Beggars is also a merchant of a sort. She sells focus points, which you can spend on a wide variety of different focus abilities that will help Garrett do the things that he'll need to do in order to get through the rest of the chapters in the game. Things like picking locks more easily and improving your combat skills and stealth and speed. You'll get your first point as you leave here, but you won't need any upgrades to complete the tasks in this section. In fact, you'll only need to use focus once, from a role-playing perspective, to find a safe combination, and really, you don't even need to use it for that if you just memorize the number ahead of time. But you shouldn't worry too much about overusing your focus energy at this stage, at least not until you spend your first point. When you spend focus points, it automatically fills your focus meter, so you might as well use what you have before you buy your first upgrade. You can do that now if you're low, or wait until later, and of course, what you spend it on is completely up to you. But you should keep in mind that there aren't very many in the game, especially on Master difficulty, because they do cost money, and they're much more expensive on Master. There are free ones lying about in later chapters, but you should still make an effort to use them wisely. If you're doing a ghosting playthrough, you might consider using your points on things like stealth and speed and dexterity, as opposed to combat and marksmanship. Efficiency, which gives you more of a bang for your focus buck, so to speak, is probably useful for any playstyle. And speaking of renewing your focus energy, we're also going to find in this section a new type of consumable called poppies. These are the glowing flowers that you'll find right at the end of this video, and again periodically throughout the game. These too are rare, and though you can purchase them from the shady merchants in the game, it's wise to use them sparingly. And that means using focus energy sparingly. It goes fast, and renewing it is costly. One trick you might consider using, if you don't find the idea offensive from a sort of a purist gamer perspective, is using focus to find things that it highlights when you need to, and then reloading after you know where they are. It's only cheating if someone's watching.
Careful, Garrett. There are worse things in the shadows than you.
As this cutscene draws to a close, you'll regain control of your character outside the chapel, and you'll get that prompt I mentioned earlier letting you know that you can go back inside as early as right now to buy more focus points if you want to. Either way, when you're done here, right in front of you as you exit is the first collectible of the section, the first of the city heritage plaques, and the first place you'll need your trusty new wrench tool. Once you have it, head back to and through the tavern, and you might as well do it at a run. No one in the graveyard will bother you. Most of the game, though, we're going to be spending in a crouch, especially when we're down on street level. The guards cover a good bit of the street with their patrols, and they can make things difficult at times. Of course, there are easier ways to avoid them and to pick their pockets than the ways that we'll be doing it in this video. It might be easier just to kill them or take them down, and it would certainly be easier to go through their unmentionables if you doused an inconvenient torch or two. But again, this tutorial is about ghosting, maximizing stealth and minimizing as much as possible any trace of your passing. That means that we're not going to be blowing out any candles to make more shadows for our nefarious activities or killing any guards or civilians, and for the most part we won't be raising any alarms or doing any takedowns. There's only one place where that's not possible. There's a room that you can't get into without alerting the guards inside, and you can't get the loot in that room without fighting or subduing them. So at the end of this video we will have raised suspicions one time and performed 2 takedowns on guards. So let's get to it. After you exit the tavern, head back towards the plaza and make sure that you don't alarm those 2 guards there as you go for your next heritage plaque. Once you get it off the wall, turn around 180 degrees or almost, and come back over here to climb up these crates and onto the ledge as we backtrack towards the Watch Council's office. Pass by the window and jump over the railing at the end of the porch there and come over here for this coin. It looks like you have to crouch down to get through this opening. Grab the coin and then turn to your right again and head down the little lane and over this railing to the window to Lady Marigold's apartment. I'm also, as we go along through the video, going to be cutting out the couple of seconds that it takes to actually do the prying with the crowbar on windows, because it adds up to a minute or so in the overall video, and there's really not much point to sitting through it each time. In the top drawer here you'll find a pocket portrait, and then there's a safe behind this painting here. I think this is the first one where there's a double switch, but it works exactly the same way as the safes and the paintings in the chapter 1. You just need to find a first switch and then a second switch, and then it slides up or opens out, depending on the type that it is. Inside you'll find two pieces of loot, or one piece of loot rather, and the next collectible, which is the second of the mortal coils, the Marsh Adder bracelet. Once you have it, close the door behind you and head out back through the window that you came in through. When you're out the window, don't go back over the railing. Look down and you're going to see another ledge right beneath you, which you need to slide off of. It's very easy to miss that and to go all the way down, which will probably kill you. But once you, if you make the landing safely, grab the coin on the other side of the plank there and then go around the building to drop into this alley. Now, if you've been going at the same speed that I have, you're just in time to get behind this cover here as the two guards come to check this side of the alley, but they don't stay long. And as soon as the second one starts moving, you can come back out. And your next task is to look through this little window here, pull out a blunt arrow, and strike at that switch to open up one of the two gates that separates that room from this room that you can get into. Pick the lock to get into the secondary room. Look through the keyhole to make sure that there's nobody inside. And then look for the mirror switch on the other side of the wall to open up the second half of the gate. Inside you're going to find a chest, and inside of the chest, of course, you'll find some loot, 2 pieces of loot and a piece of food. Now there is a window, of course, looking down at you, the same one that you shot through, and of course there are guards that come and stand by that window, so depending on timing it may be possible for them to see you. I never did get caught. I tried to shut the gates again before I left. It's not possible. They don't work from once they're open. Once you leave, shut the door, and depending on whether or not the guards are coming, you can come out into this light circle here and up onto a ledge and into the window of the author's apartment. It's important to listen to the dialogue here. This is one of the side jobs that Basso has given you. So as you're collecting the loot, you'll hear the author talking with somebody about a manuscript that he's written, presumably about Basso, and Basso wants you to find and recover it. And you just heard him say that he's left the manuscript at the Clock Tower Plaza bookbinders, which we'll come to about halfway through this video. Collect all of the pieces of loot in the room. I think that there are a total of 6 pieces of loot and 1 food. A picture frame, a saucer, a pile of coins, another picture frame, a letter opener, and a vase. And then as you exit, we're going to take a second to use our first rope arrow. Select it from the menu and then fire it into this beam right here. We're not going up there yet, but we'll come back to it in a few minutes. For now, we just want the arrow out of our inventory, and that's where it goes, so it's a good time to do it. Be careful, though. You don't just have to worry about the guards here, although if they see you, you're caught. But you also have to worry about the citizens in this alley here. Normally, they don't care about you, but if you have a bow out, they can alert. Once you're through the little side alley, pickpocket the citizen that you just saw there, and then come down to the end towards the Clock Tower Plaza, up on these crates and across this beam to this ledge here. Take a short right to grab the coin purse, and then turn back around and head up to this higher ledge. Now we are essentially back in Clock Tower Plaza. We're going to put our second rope arrow up there and then select blunt arrows from your menu to use one to bring down this raised bridge. Then swing across the rope that you just put up onto this roof and in through the window to Montanesi's abode. In his cabinet you'll find a letter opener, and a coin purse, and another document. Close the cabinet behind you and then turn to your left to loot his desk. On top there's a wine glass and another letter. Then use your wrench tool to open up this crawl space. Go through it to the end. And then be very careful as you drop down onto this little plank right here to grab another coin purse and a bird's nest. And turn back up, climb back up, and go back the way you came through the crawl space, back to Montanesi's abode. Exit through the window that you came in through, swing back across the rope, and onto the raised bridge that you brought down with the blunt arrow. Cross the bridge, go over the apex of this small roof, and drop down here. This is extremely difficult. Well, it's not difficult, but it's very easy to miss. I dropped to my death many times trying to do that, so just be careful as you slide off onto the plank. Then into this next little apartment, which is the first place that we're going to find a smuggler's map. There are 3 of these that we'll come across in this video. After you grab this coin purse, select your blunt arrows again and lean down to fire one at this switch behind the bed, which will open up a portion of the wall. Inside you'll find a cup or a vase or something, and the smuggler's map. This one will lead us to another apartment that we'll come to in just a moment, and it actually shows you where the switch is that you'll need to use to find the safe in that apartment. For now, though, just exit back out the way that you came in, through the window, onto the plank, drop off the plank and head down to the end of the alley. This is where the gentleman that we pickpocketed was. If there are guards here, that perch up there is a good place to stand and wait for them to leave, but I didn't find any this time. So just drop down and come back into this really back alley area and open up your next vent to head through your next crawl space into this next basement, which is characterized by having 2 save cabinets, neither of which could you possibly need to use. Loot the desk very quickly. There's 2 items of loot, one in the top right drawer and the other one in the top left drawer. And if you're trying to pick every lock in the game, here's one that you should be aware of. I did not pick it because, again, that's not my focus. I want to leave as few traces as possible, not just pick every lock to arbitrarily inflate the number of the lock picks on the end screens or whatever. So I just left that one alone and exited back the way I came. Now, this is the vent that the smuggler's map that we have points to. So go ahead and open that up. Go inside. You can swoop to the end. And then open up the second vent. And as you saw on the map, you're looking for a small stairs with a switch underneath. Go ahead and put a blunt arrow in it to open up the sliding wall, which leads to this difficult 5-pin lock safe. When you get it unlocked, inside you'll find a vase, a ring, 2 foods, and the next clue in the smuggler's map scavenger hunt, Eel's End. We won't come to this one for a while, and it won't be on this video. We will find one more smuggler's map, but it will be to a place that we've already been. The apartment where we found the first map, the one that leads here after shooting that switch behind the bed. So you can take a quick look at the map if you want, but you'll see that it leads to a place you've never been. While we have the inventory open, let's do a quick loot check to look at the stat screen and make sure that we haven't missed anything. You should have 17 documents, 8 collectibles, and 30 pieces of loot. Now, the number for the documents comes from the one that we found in the prologue, 6 from Chapter 1, and the Chapter 1 summary, and also the 9 new non-duplicate documents that we've picked up so far in this video. When you finish with Muddler's Row, go ahead and head back out the way you came, and now we're going to take a minute to head back to the tavern to pay another visit to the Shady Merchant. I'll do the getting there on fast forward to save a little time, but I wanted to show it just in case you don't know your way around yet. Go up that ramp, make a U-turn, and head back up this wall, essentially to our starting place by the clock tower. Then just follow the same path past the Watcher's Council office and back into the tavern. The reason that we wanted to get those first 2 rope arrows out of our inventory is that this is the closest that you'll be to the tavern for a while, and you can only hold 5 at a time. So this is a good time to come back and make a second trip. You'll need a total of 7 for this section, so that means that we needed to use 2 before we could come back and fill up. Once you've done that, head back out of the tavern and then backtrack again up these crates past the Watch Council office toward the entrance to the clock tower, and then turn left to cross the raised bridge again. But instead of dropping off the side, this time though, we're going to come through this tight passage and down this ramped roof and into Moore's Ditch. There are 2 guards that patrol this square, so make sure it's clear before swooping out here to grab this plaque. Behind it, you'll see a switch. Ignore that for now, as it doesn't do anything yet. Then turn back the way you came and swoop into this lighted alcove, again making sure that the guards aren't looking as you pick this lock that leads to this small storeroom. Check the keyhole first to make sure there's no one in there, but there's not. And after you get the door open, come into this back corner to find a pin. It's a little bit hard to see, and it might be easier to find it if you stand up, but if you do, make sure that you crouch down again before you leave, because again, there is a pair of guards that comes out into the square that will look directly in this area, and it's easy to get noticed as you're coming back out. Once you're finished, hang a U-turn, claw up back the way that you came down off of the sloped roof, and then cross this little bridge and claw up again to the higher roof. From here, turn to the right and cross the roof, past this pillar, and look over the side to see a ledge below. Drop onto it carefully. It's easy to miss and fall all the way down, and grab the coin purse from the bird nest. Then come back up and turn about 45 degrees to your left, jump this gap to find the window to Libby's attic. Inside there's a few pieces of loot, one in this box here, and a few on and in the desk behind you as you open the box. While you're in there collecting the loot, you'll hear dialogue from the floor below you of Libby talking to, I guess it's her sister or somebody, about a wedding ring that she has hidden outside the apartment. As you can see, the character is listening to the dialogue before going towards the place where the wedding ring is hidden, which is just outside this window and in a box on top of this chimney. Once you have it, jump back across the gap. Go ahead and take a second to lower this ladder. I'm not going to use it right now, but it's while you're up here, you might as well bring it down. And then cross this plank right next to it. Follow the ledge around this corner to find a gold piece sitting on the ledge. Then jump the gap to find a coin purse sitting immediately across it, and then fall down to find this second gold piece on a railing here below, and an ashtray in this alcove. Now, there are guards that patrol this area where you are right now, so you'll have to find the best way you can to get down into the ditch depending on where they are. But once you're in it, run all the way from one end to the other and up those stairs in a light circle to find another gold piece sitting on the ground. Then turn around and go just a few feet back down the ditch the way you came to where that paint splatter is, and go over the rail and up on these crates, and then up on this ledge to find the window to Sick Willie's apartment. In here, we're going to be completing our first of the 5 jobs that we got from Basso, Sick Willie. Go ahead and loot the apartment first, grabbing that perfume bottle, and then a few more loot items in here, and then we will find Sick Willie and complete the job. We've already begun one of the other jobs, righting wrongs in the author's apartment, but we haven't finished it yet. This will be the first of the 5 that we actually complete. After you loot that cupboard, get this letter opener out of the nightstand, pass by this painting here. That's where we're going in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and loot the office. There's nothing in here, at least not that I know of yet. Maybe possible to open that later. There are some scissors in the drawer below it. Several items on and around the desk. So come around to the back, grab the picture frame, and then pick this lock here to find a ring inside. There's a letter in the top right-hand corner of the desk, and a pen in the top left-hand corner, and then there's a newspaper on top of the desk. Once you have all of that stuff, head back up the stairs, activate the painting, and find the 2 switches. As the painting wall moves aside, Sick Willie's body will fall from the roof along with a ladder. Be sure to get the document off of his belt before you go up the ladder. Sometimes it can be under his clothes and hard to see, so don't forget it. Or also his body can fall so that it's under him. You may have to move the body by gripping it to find the document. In this chest up here, you find his pocket watch, and that completes the mission. Then head back out through the window that you came in through. Once you're outside, turn to your left and face the wall. Careful of those guards. Use this claw hold to get onto the roof of Sick Willie's townhouse, and then turn to your left again to find this hidden alcove with a chest in it. Pick the lock, and you'll find inside a vase and a coin purse. And close the chest pack behind you. Head out of the alcove via the ladder, and then straight across the roof to the plank on the other side. Now, these planks that we're going to be walking on here are easy to fall off of. You just need to jump across one to the other, and then to the third, and then walk out to where it meets this last one. And then in order to find the claw hold, you have to kind of walk out on the plank a little bit, and then face the wall and jump up. And then go over the railing to find a locked door. Pick the lock and head inside. Also, you can take the time to look through the keyhole, but there's nothing there. Now, this is a trapped room. You want to go ahead and close the door behind you because the trap is going to slam the door if you don't. You can see the raised plates on the floor. But don't worry, you're all locked inside at this moment, but we're going to get out. Go ahead and pick the lock on the cupboard or cabinet, then open it up to find a picture frame, and then this bookshelf is a combination lock. Pull the correct book, close the cabinet behind you, and what that has done is it has opened up this second window so that when you step on this pressure plate, even though it locks you in at the door, you now have a second exit. Loot this small dresser to find some earrings in the top drawer, and then head out your new escape route. Once you're outside, turn to your left and go back down the sloped roof into the Moore's Ditch Square, and then back across the square to Sick Willie's apartment. Make sure that the guards aren't standing there in the square watching. Head back to the roof. Now we're going to take a second to put up 3 rope arrows, one in each of the rope arrow planks that you can see. One right here, second one right here, third one across the way. We're going to use all 3 of these very quickly, but first we're going to use these first 2. Swing across both of them like Tarzan to the wooden ledge or bridge on the other side. Circle around to open this window to taxidermist's apartment, or not really sure what he is, but there's some animals going on here. Grab the 2 items off the desk, a flask and a cup, and then head back out the way you came. But once you're outside, don't go back to your left, turn right and jump onto that plank that you can see there. And then look down below you to find this ledge, jump onto that, and jump down again to the next one where the bird's nest is, and grab the coin purse out of it. Then drop back down to street level and head back to the same place that we climbed up out of the ditch the first time to find Sick Willie's townhouse, but this time you're going to go ahead and go to the 3rd rope that you just put up. Once you get off the rope, there's a cup immediately to your left, or a wine glass. And behind you there is another alcove with another locked door. Pick the locked door and head inside. This is the smuggler's office, according to the book. It's the place where you find the first in the sequence of the smuggler's maps. This is the map that will lead you to the first map that we actually found on this video in Black Furrow. After you loot the desk, there's nothing in the desk, but go ahead and loot it, and then you can find the switch underneath the desk. It brings up the painting, and you can pick this difficult 5-pin locked safe, and inside you'll find some earrings and the smuggler's map. Now, as I say, this one leads to the map that we found in Black Furrow, the one where the switch was behind the bed, and then that one leads to the one where the switch was under the stairs, which leads to Eel's End. Let's do another loot check. You should have 20 documents, 9 collectibles, and 60 pieces of loot out of a total of 398 in the city. We're only going to get to 97 in this video, which will leave 301 for later when we have different tools and access to different places. Once you finish with the safe, go ahead and exit back out through the door that you came in through. And now we're going to go ahead and pickpocket the 2 guards that are that patrol this plaza. You can do this at any time, of course. I did it here because I knew I was leaving Moore's Ditch and wouldn't see them again, and they happened to be right on my way, because you need to go down this alley that he's standing outside of to get to the next collectible. So if you happen to find them in the same situation, this is an easy time to come out and grab both of their pockets before turning back around and heading back towards the this obelisk here at the end of the lane. I sped up the video because I had to take it slow because we're going to be pickpocketing 2 more guards immediately after this, or very close to immediately after this, and you might as well kill the time here. It's hard to get all the way in here to grab this plaque and then all the way out before these 2 guards pass by again, and even if you can manage it, it puts you in a bad position to get the next 2, so I just went ahead and wasted the time there and sped up the video so it wouldn't take so long. So after you follow them back out of the obelisk area, this is the first rope arrow that we put up way back at the beginning of the video. Climb up it to this high apartment, open the chest, and you'll find 2 pieces of loot inside and some food. And then there's also 2 pieces of loot in the desk, one in on the right side and one on the left side. The other 2 drawers are empty. You might as well go ahead and search them for the sake of thoroughness. Once you've cleaned the desk out, head back out the window to the rope, slide back down the rope, turn around 180 degrees, and we're going to head back towards the Clock Tower Plaza. We're going to do it on street level, come down to the end of the alley with the 2 citizens, and then drop off and go up these stairs, and there is the clock tower in front of you. Watch out, there are guards in this area as well. Hop the railing and grab the collectible off of the clock tower wall, and then head back down to pickpocket these 2 guards. Now, they actually could be anywhere in their route. I happened to catch them here. As I said, I timed it this way. That's why I was going slowly earlier, because I knew that they would be here if I did. And as they're going up this steps, you can go ahead and pickpocket them. These guys are actually pretty difficult to pickpocket. It's really easy to get caught by them at lots of different places in their route, but here on the stairs, it's relatively easy. And if you do it there, then that gives you sort of the perfect timing to come over here to this next locked door, pick the lock, check the keyhole, and head inside. And you can get the door closed just as they're turning around to see you. If they are looking at the door when it closes, they will alert. But you should be able to get through. And then head down into the basement to grab this picture frame and this ashtray. And by now they should have passed back by the door, so that you don't need to worry about them. But make sure as you're exiting here, no matter when you do it, that you check the keyhole, this time for real, not just for role-playing, because if they're outside, you will get caught. But they're not, so go ahead and exit and close the door. and go through these light patches quickly into this back corner to find this ladder and claw up on it. Head to the first level and then climb up again to the second level. And you have to walk down the plank a little bit again to climb over the rail. And here you'll find another ashtray. Then back over the rail and follow the planks around the side of the building to literally the place that we started, the door right outside the clock tower. And then from there we're going to head into the clock tower plaza. So jump this railing, come down onto these crates, and head into the main plaza area. Now there are 2 guards over here, but as you can see, I looked to make sure that I knew that they were walking away before I walked into the light to grab that ashtray, and then you circle around counterclockwise around the outer edge of the square to find a coin purse. Watch the guards carefully as you're following them. This is a good place to stop and wait for them to go back by. You're in the shadow and basically in their profile as they move past you. As soon as they're clear, you can head into the lighted area again in front of the bookbinders and grab another ashtray, and then head around to the entrance to the bookbinders, which is at the back of the store in this second little alley and in this squeeze through area. Again, hold X to squeeze through and then mash it to lift the plank that's in your way and move past it into the clock tower bookbinders, where we will be completing the second of Basso's missions, righting wrongs. Grab the desk bell and a pen before hopping over the counter to pick the lock on the cash register. Inside you'll find a pile of coins. Grab this document and then turn around to use the book trigger to open up a trapdoor immediately behind you. Drop down into the basement and around the corner to grab the loot off the desk, a wine glass and a knife, and the document that we came for, the manuscript. And you'll show that righting wrongs is completed. And then head back out the way you came, up the ladder and through the squeeze area, back into the clock tower plaza. Now when you come out, we're going to be getting our bow out again, so make sure you stay in the shadows. Guards do sometimes come in here, but only briefly, and it's unlikely that they would catch you, but that citizen that's sitting right there by the entry will alert if he sees you firing an arrow, so make sure you stay in the shadows. And put the rope arrow up right where I just did and climb up it to find the window to Miss Scarlet's townhouse. And this is the second most difficult part of this section. It's only a little bit less difficult than Troy's apothecary, so be careful. As you can see, there's a sleeping girl in this bed. She will not wake up no matter what you do, but her father is following a predictable pattern of moving back and forth between the parlor downstairs and this bedroom, so you have some time to go through some of these drawers and to go ahead and pick that first lock on the nightstand. But pretty quickly you'll need to fade back into this corner, into the shadows, so that he doesn't see you. Wait for just a few seconds for him to leave, and make sure that he is all the way turned around, because he does turn this direction right before he goes, and then come out and actually start looting the things that you were unlocking and preparing for before. Grab this perfume bottle, close the door behind you, head back to the nightstand to grab the letter off of the top of it, or the diary, and the pen in the top drawer. Then go ahead and open up the document. I won't read it here, but essentially what it says is that Miss Scarlet has written scratched into the wall of the save cabinet downstairs the combination to the safe in the parlor. So we'll come down and we'll look at that in just a second. But before we do that, go ahead and search some of these drawers, and be careful to pay attention to what the father is doing, because he doesn't really alert from seeing you over in this area. He doesn't see you very easily, but if you're making too much noise or if you're too much out in the open, he may. So once he's upstairs, go ahead and pick this lock, grab the flask inside, search anything else that you haven't searched down here, but there's actually nothing else other than the flask and these first two pieces of furniture, and then head into the save cabinet just about the time he's coming back downstairs into the room. Then activate your focus to read the combination on the wall. It's 824, and that will get you into the safe behind the painting that's directly across from you in the shot right now. I don't recommend coming back out of the save cabinet before he leaves, because he may notice you, depending on where he is in the room. Just wait until he goes, and then come out to grab the teacup and teapot on this coffee table, and quickly go through this cabinet. Now, if you leave the cabinet open, he will notice it, and of course this is a collectible, so when you grab it, it takes a few seconds before you get the option to close the cabinet again. So you have to do those things very quickly in order to get back into the safety of the shadows before he comes back down and sees you standing in the firelight. It looked like I had a lot more time than I did, but most of that time he was looking down the stairs and can easily see the cabinet from the top of the stairs, so it's important to do that very quickly. Then again, you wait for him to do his thing and start walking out again, and once he's on his way, come over to the painting to find the double switch and open it up. Now, it took me long enough to find it that I didn't think I had enough time even to start on the combination before he started coming back down, so I came back to the shadows to wait. But you can go ahead and come back out to do at least one of the dials while he's in the room with you, looking at the fire. I don't recommend trying to do more than one dial, but you can set that first one to 8 and then go back into the shadows to wait for him to leave the room before you go for the next 2. Now, of course, this would be easier if you just knock him out, but this is how you do it if you don't want to knock him out. You just have to do the safe a dial at a time. Once you have it set to 824, it opens. Neither of these things in here is a collectible, so you can grab them both without having to worry about waiting a bunch of time before you can close the safe door again. As soon as you've got it closed, that's the third of the Basso jobs completed, Beauty Within, and we just have 2 to go. So wait for him to come back into the room. As soon as he passes by you, you can head back up the stairs and out the way you came. There is a second exit. I've never used it. I think it goes back to someplace in the Clock Tower Plaza, but this is where we want to go. Just go back out the way we came. Before you go back down the rope, cross this plank here to the other side and carefully jump up to the second plank and then climb onto the ledge to find a coin purse and a bird's nest, and then go all the way back the way you came, down to the first plank. Carefully jump to the second plank. If you fall here, you die, so careful. Cross the plank, cross the roof, back to the rope, slide down. And again, there are 2 guards that come into this area, but they don't spend much time here on their path, so it's pretty unlikely that you'll run into them. Claw up on the roof of this coffee house and come out on the top of the second outcrop to grab that coin purse out of the bird nest, and then slip into this back roof alley called the Gullet, pass by Troy's Apothecary, which we're going to come back to in just a moment, and go down the side of the roof and over this rail and off onto the ground. If you go off too far down and hit the ground proper, you'll hurt yourself, so it's important to come off and hit that railing. And then enter this little shop here. This is Ector's Emporium. It's the next spot on Basso's list of things to do. And come over here to grab these 3 documents off of this desk and out of the 2 drawers before heading back over to speak to Ector about the job.
Ector, I presume.
Is that you?
It's not a lengthy cutscene, but he does talk for a little bit about what he expects from you. Apparently, somebody has stolen the hand of one of his creations, the Mechanical Man, and he wants you to get it back. The job is called Machinations, and in order to complete the job, all you have to do is accept a new job from Ector. So as soon as the cutscene is complete, you have a choice about whether to accept or reject his job sending you out to collect the hand from the hired thug that stole it from him. And as soon as you hit the accept button, you'll get credit for completing the quest for Basso.
Check out Alfonso's attire in Stone Market. That weasel's no doubt stashed my metal hand in his tailor shop.
Once you see the green completed sign, just turn back around and head back out through the door,
At least until I've been
back into the gullet. And we're going to take another second here to stop and do another loot check before we go on to Troy's Apothecary. You should have 26 documents, 12 collectibles, and 85 out of 398 loot. Next, claw up on this ladder to head back out of the gullet the way that we came in. You can actually see an entrance there to Baron's Way North, which we're going to come through from the other side in just a moment. But for now, just go back up the roof and enter this window to Troy's Apothecary. Now, this is the only place where we're going to have to break our rules about alerting guards and doing takedowns and so forth. You can go ahead and open that if you want to, but we're not going to go in there first. The first thing that you want to do is take a look through this keyhole, and you'll see that there are 2 guards in this office who are waiting for any signs of trouble from the office next door, and also there is loot in here that you want. So go ahead and pick the lock on the door, and then come over here to behind where the door will open, take out your bottle, and throw it against that wall. It's important to throw it there, because if you throw it too close to the door, both of them alert and come out. And if you throw it too far away, neither of them will come out. But if you throw it right there, he will come out, close the door behind him to alert the other guard, and do a quick takedown while the other guard is deciding whether or not he wants to come and investigate the noise. Deposit the guard's body behind the wall here, just in time for the second one to open the door and come out, and then just do the same thing to him. As far as I know, it is impossible to get into that room without alerting these guards. There's no way through any of the 3 doors that you could come in and get behind this desk and loot it without being seen. And what's more, once you alert them, you have to fight them in some fashion. Either you have to do a actual sword fight and shoot them with arrows and bludgeon them and so forth while they're trying to kill you, or you can do what I just did and take them out from behind one at a time and not kill them. So we did the minimum that we could do there. Instead of being detected, we just had an alert, and instead of killing guards, we just did 2 takedowns, and they are no longer a threat. As soon as they are finished, you can come back through this crawl space here. Watch Hector very carefully, not Hector, I'm sorry, Troy. Watch Troy very carefully through the grate until he turns away from you, and then come out and stay behind him until he moves on again, and that will give you just enough time to grab the first of the 3 pieces of loot on his desk. You can see he noticed a little bit that you were there, but not much, and when he turns away again, you can grab the quest item, which is the tonic, and you'll notice that I got the quest completed sign there. That was Medical Misery done, the 4th out of the 5 that we were doing. And then you just wait for him to turn his back one last time to come over and grab the microscope. And then you're finished here. Just wait for him to turn around again so that he's not looking at you, and head back out through the crawl space. But we're not going to go out through the same window that we came in. In fact, we're not going to go out at all yet, because we still have to loot the other office. So head back into here where you have deposited the guards' bodies, and loot this desk quickly for an ink bottle in the top left drawer. And a pen in the bottom right drawer. And then there are documents as well, or a document on the desk. It's the next newspaper. Once that's finished, close the door behind you as you exit. And then we're going to go out the opposite window. There are 2 windows. We came in through the other one, and we're leaving through this one. I also highlighted there that there is a locked door that I didn't unlock, and there's another locked door to the room that Troy is in that I also didn't unlock. So if you're looking to unlock all doors, don't forget those 2. As you exit the apothecary, you're in a small area called Baron's Way North. There are no guards here, and it's not necessary to creep. So you can go ahead and stand up as you drop off this ledge and come around to collect this letter by the murdered woman, essentially telling her that she's going to be murdered if she doesn't do something that she apparently did not then do. Then come around the corner to grab the next of the plaques, which is the 8th and final collectible that we're going to be finding in this video. And then head down the alley and off into this left-hand side chute and open up the crawl space here to head inside to a small apartment or office. And here we find our first poppy of the game. Now these are consumables that replenish focus energy, so hold on to those. You may need them for later chapters. And then grab the 2 pieces of loot from right above it and the document on the bed before heading back out the way you came in. Once you're out, continue through the little area and look up to find this rope beam. Now be careful not to fire it from where the 2 people standing outside the gate can see you, because they will alert if they see you drawing a bow. Once you get your rope arrow in, climb up to another little hidden apartment and loot the desk. Find a coin purse in the top right hand drawer and a picture frame on the top of the desk. Then head out the way you came in, sliding down the rope. You drop down into the area, which is right near the exit. That's how we're going to get back to the Clock Tower Plaza. But before we go, come back out here into the alley and head all the way down to the end to the Leatherwood Furniture Store, which is the last place that we're going to loot before we finish. Pick the lock. Check the keyhole, but there's no one inside. And then open the door to let yourself in. There's a candle on this first desk. Once you've got it, head down the hall and circle around. Come through this crawl space here at the back and pick up the 2 pieces of loot on these barrels. And then be careful to notice the knot that you can push here to open a secret room. Drop down into there and pick up another poppy. There's also a painting on the wall that we will steal when we have the wire cutter tool later. Once you have everything, backtrack out the way that you came in. Remember to shut the door behind you and head back to that area that I was just talking about that would be our exit, which is the same place that you fired the rope arrow up into the rafters on the other side of the gate where those 2 people are talking. Just pass them and go around them, and then as you get close you'll see that prompt lights up, letting you know that you can squeeze through this area and back into the Clock Tower Plaza. But before we do that, let's do another loot check. You should have 28 documents, 13 collectibles, and 97 out of 398. And now there's just one thing left to do.
What'd you have me do?
We're going to pick 2 more pockets off of the same person just on the other side of this squeeze through here in the Clock Tower Plaza. I actually missed this on my first playthrough and discovered it later. So I've gone back and re-recorded it, which is why it's taking place after the last, or what was supposed to be the last, loot check. Obviously I would have done that after this to make sure that all of the stats were complete if I hadn't screwed it up. But this is where he is. He's that guy that you can see down there in the square right next to the 2 guards. But of course the 2 guards being there is going to make it sort of a problem to go down there and take his stuff. So we'll wait just for a moment here in this corner where I'm pretty confident you won't get seen no matter where the guards are until they start to leave. Then just stay in their profile as they walk by, as you normally do when you're trying to avoid being seen, and as soon as they're gone you can drop down, and the guy himself doesn't care what you do as long as he doesn't see you actually picking his pocket. So just make sure that you're behind him for that, and make sure that he's over in this corner so that this other guy that you can now see on the screen doesn't watch you do it. And that is it for the city, Chapter 1. All that remains is to move quickly back across the Clock Tower Plaza to the Tavern, the Crippled Burrick, which is where we will end this video, and then we'll pick up from there in the next video to cover the main mission of Chapter 2, Dust to Dust. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope that you found this enjoyable or informative. If you did, please drop a comment and let me know, or if you notice anything that I missed, please let me know that as well. Other than that, I'm Ninja Dave. Thanks for watching, and happy thieving.